In this video, we're going to be debuting a new action figure line on the channel, and that's none other than Kyle Katarn for the Expanding Universe wave for the Power of the Force line. Up until now, I haven't done any of the Kenner Power of the Force action figures. I do hope to get around to a few of them at some point, and I figure there's no better character to start off with than Kyle Katarn here. I finally went ahead and got this guy on eBay brand new. He's been one I wanted for my collection for a long time now, and I just never got around to it. He's not too expensive. I only paid like $18 for this, so not too bad. And this is the very first Kyle Katarn action figure we ever got from Kenner / Hasbro. This was during the transition time. I think this particular Expanding Universe wave came out between 97 and 98. So at this point, Dark Forces 2 was making his debut, although the character that you see here, it seems like Hasbro, Kenner / Hasbro. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what the deal was at this time. Even though it says Kenner, it also says Hasbro down there. So yeah, 98. It's during that weird time, similar to like Disney and Lucasfilm and that particular era. But even though this Kyle Katarn's sourced from Dark Forces 1, which you can see from the image here, they, for whatever reason, made the action figure and tried to edit him in a way to where he looks like how he does in Dark Forces 2. If you recall this particular scene here, this is directly out of the first Dark Forces game. This is between Mission 1 and Mission 2, before Kyle goes to the planet of Tala, I think it's called, and he is tasked by Mon Mothma to shut down a hydro plant or to restart one. I forget. It's been a long time since I've played Dark Forces. It's probably been 14 years now since I've played the game. I do like Dark Forces, the series. Dark Forces 2 is probably my favorite game in the series. I really like the cutscenes in that game, and plus the gameplay itself. I had a lot of fun with it. That's probably the one I revisit the most, even more so than Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. And I think that's Kyle Katarn at his prime. And quite frankly, I think the action figure featured here, beard aside, of course in the first game he did not have a beard, they just photoshopped one into here. This outfit he's wearing looks very similar to the one he wears in Dark Forces 2. I would love to get a new Kyle Katarn at some point for TVC. I really hope he gets one. Of all the characters that Hasbro makes, Kyle's definitely one that deserves a TVC figure. And I did review his other figure of him. This one here, this was from the Legacy Collection comic packs, and he came with the Yuuzhan Vong Warrior. So I would assume this is a little bit of an older Kyle. This is probably during the New Jedi Order book series. In fact, he came with a Yuuzhan Vong. Tells me that's probably the time period that it's in. And being that this is the first Power of the Force action figure on the channel, I decided that I wanted to show what he looks like in the packaging before I open it. And we'll see about opening this on screen here. So we have that iconic image of Darth Vader up here. It's the Kenner collection, Star Wars Expanding Universe, so I really miss seeing that. And yeah, this package does open up into an Imperial shuttle, which we'll see what that looks like here in a little bit. You do have to cut the package a little bit to see what it is. You can see it opens up right there. But yeah, it's kind of comical on Kenner's part to take an image still from that game and just throw a beard on him. That will make it a little better. 3D playset, image of the figure there. Of course, these aren't the most articulated figures in the world, and they do have a little bit of that bulkiness to them, but they have their own charm to them. And I think so far this is a pretty good likeness to Kyle. I'm glad I own both versions of the character to this date. And we have the back here. So prepare to jump to light speed with Kenner's Expanding Universe, now offering the most memorable characters from Star Wars Dark Force comics, Phantom novels, and LucasArts games. Finally, the entire galaxy can be yours. This one man in the galaxy capable of destroying the Dark Trooper. So the first Dark Forces game takes place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and basically it's the game that introduced the Dark Trooper project, and of course the main villain in that besides Darth Vader, I guess, but he's more of a side villain, I suppose, in that game, General Ron Mock, if you've heard of him. And there is an action figure of him. I do not have him yet, but I do plan to get him at some point. Here's an image of the cardboard cutout shuttle that it opens up to. And Kyle Katarn from the Dark Forces video game. It's a period of Civil War. The Rebel Alliance struggles to free the galaxy from the clutches of the evil Galactic Empire. Discovering that Imperial forces have begun developing a new type of stormtrooper, the rebels call on mercenary Kyle Katarn. His mission: seek out and destroy the secret Imperial project called Dark Trooper. Rogue mercenary loyal to no one, Kyle Katarn has accepted a near impossible mission to destroy the Empire's ability to develop an army of unstoppable stormtroopers known as Dark Troopers. Then we have the other figures from the line here, which I would like to try and get most of these at some point. The Imperial Sentinel would be nice. Mara Jade, Admiral Thrawn, that Princess Leia would be interesting as well. And this kind of looks like a Dark Empire Luke. Of course, the clone Emperor Palpatine. I really miss this era of Star Wars. I think this was some of the prime years, I guess, or just the start of the prime years. And we got some vehicles at the time. We have an Airspeeder, Cloud Car. I think these are some more EU style ones. And Kenner. And the official Hasbro, or the official Star Wars fan club. Only $19.95 for 6-issue subscription, plus a free membership kit. Send check or money order to that address there. I wonder if that still exists, or if that PO box is owned by someone else, or if Hasbro took it over or something like that. But yeah, I kind of miss this packaging, and no Disney logos, or even no Hasbro logos. I mean, it's very iconic. I will give a quick overview of Kyle Katarn, just in case you don't know much about his character. So he was basically a mercenary, at least during this era. He was in the Empire for a time. I'm not sure if he was a stormtrooper or a pilot. And then, of course, he ends up defecting and then become a mercenary. And later on, especially during Dark Forces 2, he starts to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi much later in life. I think even up to that, he may have had some Jedi training, if I recall correctly. I think that was touched on in Jedi Outcast. And then, of course, he becomes a Jedi Knight at some point, and then he ends up becoming a member of the Jedi Council, and that is noted in the Legacy of the Force book series, which is a very good book series as well. So basically, Kyle Katarn, you know, he's a typical soldier, and then he ends up rising through the ranks and becoming a Grand Master of the Jedi Order, basically, under Luke Skywalker. So very interesting character, one of my favorites from the EU. Without saying anything further, let's just go ahead and open this guy up, see what he's about. We'll open up the package here first before we get to the cardboard cutout on the back. I like to try and salvage as much of this as possible without ruining anything. It's a very thick card as well. We'll leave the bubble on there for now. Figure there. Oh wow. It's nice to finally have some of these Power of the Force action figures. I have owned a few over the years, but this is, I would think, is one of the best examples from that era. If you had to make like a top 10 list of the best Power of the Force action figures made, I think Kyle is one that definitely deserves to be on that list. Of course, this is before he ends up becoming a Jedi. so he will not have a lightsaber with him. It's kind of sticky, actually. I think that tape is starting to deteriorate. This is a 26-year-old action figure now. So to me, this looks like it's Kyle's signature pistol slash rifle, I suppose. He usually shoots this one-handed, but you could treat it as a rifle. Now this I recognize from Dark Forces 2. This is kind of like the mini missile launcher, I think. So this is definitely an accessory from that game. So here's a closer look at Kyle himself, and I think that's a pretty good likeness to Kyle Katarn. Especially given the era that this is, where if you know the Power of the Force action figures, a lot of them are kind of beefy, and especially the main characters like Luke and Leia and Han, they looked way off, I think. But this was a huge step up. So I think he's got a lot of nice detailing in him. I mean, the head sculpt is pretty much on point. He's got the beard. It's basically the Chuck Norris of Star Wars, I guess. Here's his outfit. Has the overalls there, basically, or the straps. Has his belt. Has the holster there, and a pouch there. He has gloves on. Those triangle details on them. Painted silver. And looks like he has some knee pads on, or something like that. And then black boots, which has some pretty big feet on him, but that'll make sure he stands into place. But it looks like you can fit a stand on him no problem, so that's pretty good. So it looks like the articulation, it's just, it's pretty basic. So he has the swivel at the neck, and swivel shoulders, and swivel waist, and then swivel hips, and that's it. That's pretty much all he needs. Let's see how he looks with these here. He shouldn't really be that big of a deal to really fit in his hands. Well, he doesn't really have a large grip. Maybe this one. Try this one then. Yeah, so that one accommodates that. Probably gonna have to run these accessories under some water because they're extremely sticky. Alright, just like that. Of course, Kyle's the guy that you send in if you really want to rough things up, do some serious damage. Good character to ruin someone's day. Let's open this thing up. So I think what you have to do in order to cut this open is you have to cut along here, then on the sides here. Try to do this without doing any creases. Let's open there. I think along here as well. this in stages. Alright, let's see how this looks. Spend some time trying to keep that open. Anyway, that's how that looks. It just folds up like this. Instead of the Imperial Shuttle, it might have been interesting to have the Moldy Crow, which is his personal ship, which is a HasLab project I would like to see. I guess you're supposed to put Kyle there. Yeah, I'll have to work with that. But something like that. It's kind of interesting. Makes you wish Hasbro would still do stuff like this. So it looks like we have the turret here. Of course, this is the door here, and the cockpit for the shuttle. Landing gear, I suppose. Yeah, not too bad. Certainly get your value for your money just from the package alone. Do some comparisons here. So obviously there's a huge difference between these two Kyle figures. And even though there's about a 11-year difference between the two action figures, I think they're both great in their own right. Of course, obviously this one looks much closer to Kyle, and the proportions are much more accurate. Of course, he's more articulated. This one's really nice as well. Just my initial impression of it, I'm very happy with it. Of course, this one on the Power of the Force Kyle is much more affordable, I would say, compared to this one. Although this Kyle Katarn, if you look in the right places, you can find a decent price for him. But if you're looking for a quick fix, I think this Power of the Force one is the way to go. And of course, if you want to have more of a Jedi era Kyle Katarn, I'm sure it's no problem to take a spare lightsaber you have lying around and just give it to this one here. Then you basically have a Dark Forces 2 Kyle. And during that game, he uses his father's lightsaber, I think, or no, the lightsaber he uses that his father had at his house belonged to a Jedi named Rom. And then of course that he eventually loses that, and then he ends up borrowing Yulin's lightsaber, which is a yellow one. And this blue one here is what he typically uses during Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. Very nice action figure. I'll bring out one more here just to make a quick scene. It's been a while since I've showed off this character, and I think it's about time we get him in some more videos. Phase 1 Dark Trooper. There is a scene in the first game, I think it's the 5th or 6th mission, where Kyle goes to Rasan. That's where he uncovers some secrets about the Dark Trooper. And towards the end of that mission, you end up fighting with Phase 1 Dark Trooper here. So this is basically a scene directly out of that game. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about Kyle Katarn here for the Power of the Force line. I think it's a great way to Started off this line of action figures on the channel. I hope to get to plenty more in the future. So would I recommend him for your collection? My initial impression is yes. He's fairly affordable. If you need a quick fix for Kyle, this is the one to get. And he's good enough. Sure, he's not the most articulated, and he's kind of more buff compared to what most of the characters should be. I think he's perfectly fine for what he is, and he gets the point across. I look at him and say, yes, that's Kyle Katarn. Nice accessories. Comes with basically everything that he needs. And he's a solid action figure. And I think even in today's world, he still holds up pretty good. And just from my impression of the Power of the Force line, Kyle Katarn here seems like he's one of the best ones that ended up coming out of that line. Of course, this was towards the very end, and during that transition era between Kenner and Hasbro. But Kenner did make its fair share of great action figures over the years. I'm glad to own some more. But anyways, that concludes this opening and review. Stay tuned for plenty more videos in the future. Will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. As always, thanks for watching.